Hey there, welcome to Oman Runner. In today's video, I'm going to review the Hoka One One Carbon X2. I'm going to compare it to its predecessor, the Carbon X, and as well as that, the Carbon X-SPE. First, I'm going to take them out in a short run. I'll show you a video of that. Then I'm going to put them up on the turntable and look at the specifications. Then I'm going to review them, and finally I'm going to see if I can recommend them. I bought this shoe because I had such a great experience running its predecessor, the Carbon X, and also in the Carbon X-SPE. And so I took all three down to the Convention Centre in Dublin, designed by Kevin Roach, and I had a little run around so you can have a look at them in action. Now that you've had a look at me running around in the shoes, let's stick the Carbon X2 on the turntable and review its specifications. Let's see what Hoka have to say about these. Positioned as an endurance racer, the Carbon X2 delivers the same propulsive speed as its predecessor in an adaptive silhouette geared for training and racing alike. Engineered with a responsive carbon fiber plate and aggressive meta rocker, this performance shoe is a formidable competitor. The epitome of long-range weaponry, the Carbon X2 pairs softer, lighter foam with the same rubberized foam outsole as the last iteration. Scrutinized with a focus on fit, the Carbon X2 employs a refined collar shape, notched tongue, and engineered mesh upper with embroidered TPU yarns and extra reinforcement around the laces. Get ready for an inherently soft, stable, and responsive ride. Well, we'll see about that. This shoe is UK size 12, US size 12.5D, 47 1/3 EU, and 30.5 Japan, or JPN. In this size, it weighs 289 grams, or 10.2 ounces in the right shoe, and 292 grams, 10.3 ounces in the left shoe. The manufacturer's weight is 239 grams or 8.43 ounces, but they don't say what size. I really like the upper on this shoe. In the Carbon X, the heel was very floppy and the laces were hard to tie, and they addressed both of those in the Carbon X-SPE. But here they've adapted a completely different type of heel with a little bit more structure, and the heel is very much like that you can see on the Clifton Edge, the high back and nice support, and much easier to get on than the Carbon X, which would have been the original, I suppose, one of the few things I disliked about the shoe. The upper is very comfortable, it's very light. The laces are easy to tie, they didn't come undone like they did originally on my on the Carbon X. Nice wide toe box. A very thin lining that's stuck inside in the shoe. But the single biggest thing they've done, hallelujah, is and they mention it, the tongue, there's a little V in the tongue, as you can see there. And what that does is it allows it to move in and out without bunching. But what they don't mention, which I think has been, it's tiny, but it's a great improvement for me. I moaned about these shoes endlessly because they have a really nice reflective piece of plastic on the tongue. but it comes directly into contact with your foot, and the first time I ran in it, it bled. There's a textured backing to the plastic, but they both butt up against your foot, and my feet bled, and I was wearing low ankle socks. Whereas in these ones, the fabric that lines the plastic, which is also reflective, projects beyond, is very nice and soft in the foot. So I doubt very much whether Hoka watched the video, but they obviously do review what they're doing, which is very encouraging. The sole of the shoe is where they've made a lot of changes. In the Carbon X, which is the same base as the Carbon X-SPE, you can see there's the midsole and the outsole, and the carbon plate runs in the middle along there. And the carbon plate in the X2 has been moved further down towards the ground. So you can kind of see it there that the outsole is a much thinner layer. I suppose if I put the two together, it'll help. So this is a much thinner layer on this shoe. I'm not sure why they've done that. We'll talk about the feel later on, because the stack height is pretty much the same. The other thing they've done is they've gone for this little notched heel. I don't know that it does anything other than save a little bit of weight. But they're the most changes. Now, one of the things I really like about this shoe is the width of it, both at the forefoot and at the base. So I find although the shoe is slightly heavier than a lot of other carbon fiber races, so if you compared it, say, to the Fuel Cell Elite, you can see these are the same size, and hopefully I'm holding up the same distance. But this is a narrower shoe. Now, one of the things about carbon fiber shoes, I've seen a lot of criticism where people are rolling over, they're hurting their ankles or with various carbon fiber shoes that are narrow. But these are beautifully wide, and for someone like me who is going to get tired towards the end of a marathon or a long run, that extra stability is something I really like, and I'm kind of interested that Jim Walmsley is trying again. He broke I think the 50-kilometer record in the Carbon X, and he's going to try for the 100-kilometer record on the 23rd of January. So that's after this video in 2021. And I'm really interested to see that, but I think he's going to be wearing the X2 rather than the Rocket X. So I think it's a very stable shoe from that point of view. Whilst I really like the width of this shoe and the base of the shoe, it has a couple of, I also love the aesthetic on it. I mean, I really like it. You'll see it better on the clean version, the unrun version that I had on the Turntable. But there's the lovely X in between and the cutouts to see the carbon plate. I like that. There's not much grip. There wasn't much grip on the Carbon X2. So or in the Carbon X. So if you're running in winter, as I am at the moment, and sometimes the roads are slimy with a thin film of dirt, you can slip a little bit. So you got to take a bit of care with these on a dry pavement. They're fantastic. The other thing I found in these was little bits of gravel stuck in the sole. I ran them for 2.5 hours the other day. Just took them straight out of the box. But little bits of gravel just embedded themselves in here. So this is soft, very soft foam. You'll see, on the original Carbon X, it wore off pretty substantially down there. There's about 400 Ks on these. I'm expecting to run about 300 Ks in these, but I think that will wear quite through. But it's already a tiny bit of wear, but we'll see and we'll compare them. I'm going to try and compare shoes at the same distances, so we can kind of comparative wears between various shoes. I like the look of this shoe. I like the rear thing. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know that it does very much. I mean, maybe it shaves a tiny bit of weight, as I said, but it's slightly bland. This shoe comes in 3 colors. This is Dark Shadow Fiesta, and actually Dark Shadow is a good description because it's hard to see the details. If you go back to the Turntable video, you'll see it. But there is actually some nice fine detailing on the upper. It's also available in red, but not in my size. And it's also available in the usual Hoka blue, and I think the base is yellow. Presumably more will come along. What I don't know is the Carbon X-SPE, which is here, addressed some of the original issues of the Carbon X. In other words, the heel, I think, and the lacing, they were substantially changed. But the Carbon X-SPE and the Carbon X2 are now peacefully coexisting. So whether or not they're designed to be in parallel, or whether this shoe is going to have its own XPE version, time will tell. So how does this shoe feel? Well, it seems to me, I've run 2.5 hours in them. It seems more firm than the Carbon X, which has the same base as the Carbon X-SPE. In truth, I prefer running this shoe. Whether that's because there's about 150 K on this shoe and it's more worn in, I don't know. You can see in the video in the slower portions, there's great compressibility as this hits the ground, and I like the spring from it. This first run, it felt a bit firm. And the Carbon X got criticism for being way firmer than, say, this New Balance Fuel Cell Elite, which really feels springy, etc. But it's a shoe. I mean, I enjoyed running in it. It straight out of the box, I had no issues running for 2.5 hours in it. Like its predecessor, which I took out for a half marathon on its first run. I found it very comfortable, no problems around the laces or anything like that. Laces didn't come undone, although I've discovered a different way of tying laces since I got the Carbon X. But it's not a shoe that I somehow, maybe it's the color, but it didn't sort of make me feel as happy going out in it as I like. I love going out in this shoe. It's a bit beat up now. But I didn't get that sort of joie de vivre feeling of going out in it. But maybe that'll change. But it's certainly nice to run in. I'm not quite sure where Hoka are positioning the Carbon X2. So they brought out the Rocket. I don't like the Rocket. I've made my views that clear in other videos. But this is heavier than the Rocket. I think it's a little bit heavier in my size anyway than the original Carbon X. So I'm trying to figure out where it fits, because this shoe is cheaper. It's about €180 and $180, and it's cheaper. I'll put the sterling prices in the descriptions. But it's the same. It's cheaper than this shoe. So this shoe is still retailing at $200 or €200. So it's more expensive than the Carbon X2. So it's not positioned as its fastest racer, but where this shoe really does excel for me is on long tempo days and fast runs. You could run any distance in this shoe, but certainly when you're going on long runs, any of these Carbon X's by Hoka are for me really superb. They're really stable and they roll really nicely. So when you want to go faster, they pick up the pace really well. If you want to sprint in them, they go well. But if you're just loping along, they're also hyper comfortable for me at those sort of paces. So it's a great all-round shoe. Probably because it's not as light as, say, the Fuel Cell Elite by New Balance, probably won't be my choice for the next marathon shoe, but it's still a great shoe to have. Hoka say this is an inherently soft, stable and responsive ride. I do find it really stable, I do find it responsive, but I don't find it really soft, so I don't really buy with it there, but I still think it's a great shoe. I mentioned that this is €200 or $200, and this is 180 or 180 euro. But this is still available in Fleet Feet in the United States for $145. Now, the question is this a significantly better shoe? And for me, the answer is no. At $145, if I was living in the States now, I'd go right down, bang their door, and I'd buy this exact shoe. I bought it actually from Fleet Feet in Murfreesboro in Tennessee. But I think at €145, this is a great value shoe. This has got some changes, but none that kind of particularly excite me or make enough of a difference that I would go for this as a more expensive shoe. Conversely, I really like the colorways in this shoe, so I might be tempted to go the extra $20 for this shoe, and there's lots of different colorways. But certainly, this is a shoe I haven't fallen in love with yet. I do enjoy running it. Don't get me wrong, and it'll still be one of the favorite shoes of the year. And I'm going to be putting more miles in it, and look, we might update it and see what I think after that. Maybe it'll get a bit softer over time. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. And if you did, it'd be great if you hit the like button. As always, I'll put lots of the descriptions below, and I'll happily answer any questions that pop up in the comments. There'll be a subscribe button popping up there and some videos popping up there. Thanks for watching. Until the next video, just keep running along.